wave. So we're finishing up our series this week a little bit early because next week we're going to jump into our first series of the semester. And we are going to be meeting back virtually for the first bit of the semester until the executive committee gives us the go-ahead to meet in person. But we are starting, like I said, next week. We're going to meet on Zoom with United Night. And then we'll have small groups on Zoom as well. So if you're watching this, make sure that you remind your fellow small group members that we're going to start meeting next week. So, and if you don't know how, shoot me a message on here or send me a text and I'll show you how if you haven't figured it out yet. But today we're going to finish up our series, LoveHate. And it's been about, like last week we talked about how love can drive us and it's how we should make decisions and how we should view people, and we should let it be the way that we see people and let it be what we're about. And this week we're going to talk a little bit more about love, but one thing that I want to start with is asking a question. It's, have you ever been really thankful for a heads up from a friend? What I mean, like, is if you ever had something stuck in your teeth, or maybe like your shirt wasn't buttoned up correctly, like you put it on, mismatched, or maybe like, maybe your shoe's untied, or maybe you have something stuck on your shoe, something embarrassing, right? We've all been there, and we're really thankful when somebody lets us know that we have something between our teeth, because it can be kind of embarrassing for a minute when they tell you, but at least you have it cleared out of the way, so not everybody sees it, right? And I'm sure you've also been on the other side of the things. Have you ever felt like you needed to say something, but didn't really necessarily know exactly how to say it? Maybe one of your friends is dating somebody that's not the best for them, or maybe they're making decisions that are not in the long run going to be beneficial for them, and they're going to hurt them. Maybe you know that whatever your friend's doing is going to get them in trouble, and they're going to get caught. And we've all been in positions where we want to help our friends and we want to say something, but a lot of the times we'll avoid those situations because we don't like conflict. And some of us aren't that way. Some of us are the exact opposite, and we overhelp, and we are seemingly controllable. We all have friends that lay in one of those two categories, and we are in one of those two categories where we either never help out because we're scared of the awkwardness, or we overhelp because we think our opinion is the most important. And I know what it feels like to think that you need to say something, like need to tell your friend something, but not necessarily know how to say it or what to say to make it not come off like judgy. So how do we make sure that we handle things the right way? Because we should help our friends out, right? So what can we do to make sure that we help our friends out and help them maybe not make choices that are going to destroy them? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I think that it's safe to say that when we're talking about that we're saying that love is our goal, because that's what we kind of talked about last week, is like we want love to be what we're all about. And if love is our goal, then how do we act when somebody's doing something, like one of our friends is doing something bad or dangerous, or maybe they're just doing something dumb? Because a lot of the times that's kind of hard to do. And so we'll get to the question and we'll be like, should we avoid them? Because sometimes some people come to that conclusion that if their friends aren't doing stuff that they agree with, then the best thing for them to do is to just, not be involved with them at all. Or should we just let them do it because, yeah, sure, maybe we wouldn't do that for ourselves, but they can make their own choices, right? So these are common kind of thought processes that people have when their friends aren't making the best choices. So regardless of all that, though, what we're going to look at today in Galatians, this book that it's a letter that Paul wrote to the church in Galatia. We're going to look at something that he said, and it's kind of a tip on a way to help out our friends or anyone that we love when they're making choices that we can see is hurting them. So if you're following along, go to Galatians chapter 6, and we're going to be verses 1 and 2. If you don't want to get there right now, or you don't have a Bible right on you, it's cool. Just go find it later, and I'm going to read it too, so you'll have it. Galatians 6, verses 1 and 2. And verse 1 says this: "Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. But watch yourselves, or you also may be tempted." So Paul's actually telling us, and I was going to read a different translation too. I meant to read out of the NLT, so give me just 1 second. Because I like the way that it says that part. So just give me 1 second. But what Paul's basically telling us there is we're going to have friends, and our friends are going to make choices that sometimes we don't really agree with. And sometimes, here we go, found it. So this is the way that the NLT says it. "Dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path. And be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself." So Paul's giving us some really good advice here for when we have people in our lives that do stuff that is destructive to themselves. And what he's basically telling us is that it's not really just our place to say something, but we should also do something. We should do something about it. We should help that person along. We should help them get to the best place that they could be. And it's not saying, there's some stuff that he's not saying. He's not saying that you're personally responsible for the actions of that person. He's also not saying that that it's all on your shoulders. And you also shouldn't put yourself in a compromising situation. He's saying all of these things. But he keeps going too. And this is the really important part that really gives us a tip for how to love those people that are around us. And he says in verse 2, "Share each other's burdens, and in this way obey the law of Christ." So how do we help those people around us? Well, Paul says that we can share their burdens. And a way that I like to think of it is like a spotter. Like if you've ever seen somebody do bench press or be in a weight room lifting, typically they have a spotter. And so like if you're doing bench, laying down like this, then you usually have somebody standing right here, and that person's there. So if this weight ends up being too heavy and you can't get it off of you, then they can reach and grab and help support the weight and pull it up while you're pushing, so that they can be there to help you share that burden while you're struggling with it. And that's the same exact way that we should be for those people around us. We should help them in the burdens that they have. And we owe it to them, I think, as followers of Christ, for the example that Christ has shown us to love others. We owe it to the people around us to be like a spotter in their life and to help them with their burdens. And the way that we do this in a loving way, one of the ways is we don't point fingers, we share burdens. And that's a really good way to remember it, and a really good just like constant reminder is to not point fingers but share burdens. And that's how you can help along the people in your life. Because you see, when you're kind and you're helpful and you're, like Paul says, when you're gentle and humble, then you can help others in a way that shows them that you love them too. And they're not going to think that you're being, condescending, or that you're looking down on them, or you think that you're better than them. Because when you do things in love, then it's apparent. And look, I'm not saying that hard combos are easy. Hard conversations are hard. They're uncomfortable, they're awkward, they're kind of weird. It makes you feel like you're kind of stepping on the other person's toes. But I can promise you this, is avoiding them and enjoying them, meaning, basically trying to make that person feel bad for what they do. Neither of those are the right answer. So if those aren't the right answer, then the only thing that you can do is to just have that hard conversation. Just talk to that person. And when you do that in love, and let love be your filter, then you can accomplish so much, and your relationships will be so much better. Like, we already know what a filter is, right? Like if you put a filter on a photo, it changes the way it looks. And if you let love be your filter, then it can change the way that you help the people around you. If you let love be the sight that you see everything through, then you can help people the right way without condescending them or looking down on them or talking down to them or making them feel like they're less. Because filters change what you see. And when we see someone take a step the right way after we've helped them, then we just get to encourage them. And just that kind of that encouragement helps them understand that we truly just care about them. It's not that we want to make ourselves look better, but we want to help them in their life as well. So the next time that you want to try to put these things in place and you want to actually practice what we talked about today, just ask yourself a couple questions. Here's 3 questions that will really help you. It's what's the most loving thing I can do? Like, what is the most loving thing that I could do to that person that I see that's making destructive choices? What could that be? The second one is, how would I want someone to speak to me? So then you put yourself in their shoes and think, okay, if I would, I'd probably make some bad choices and I'll probably have some destructive habits. So if I wanted somebody to help me, how would I want them to speak to me? Would I want them to tell me that I just need to get over it, or would I want them to love me and tell me that they understand and want to be beside me in this? And then the third thing goes along with that. How would I want someone to live out loving me? Because we don't want someone just telling us that they're praying for us or that they see something wrong with us. But we want somebody to stand alongside us and, like what we've just talked about, share that burden with us and help us overcome it. So when you let love be your filter in everything that you do, in the way that you see other people, in the way that you live your life, you end up sharing the burdens of others. And that's good news. And that's what Jesus did. And that's what we can do as well. So this is the end of our Love-Hate series. And I hope that it was beneficial. I hope that it was helpful. Next week, we're going to start our semester off, and I'm super excited about that. Like I said, if you don't know about it, while you're watching this, just go shoot us a message, and I'll give you the information on what we're going to start doing next week. But with that being said, I love y'all, and I will see you later. Bye.